She screamed so loud the guards ran inside her room, but when they entered, they froze. Princess Eleonora stood in the center of the floor, shaking, her hands covered in blood that was not hers. "Take it out, please take it out," she whispered, her voice broken like glass. No one understood what she meant until the royal doctor silently stepped back, his face turning white. "She's pregnant," he said, and the room fell into dead silence. She was only 15. The king's fist slammed against the marble table. "This is impossible. Someone will pay for this. Find who did it. Now." He looked at her like she was a stranger, not his daughter. Eleonora kept saying the same thing, over and over like a broken record, "I didn't do anything. He came from the dark, he just appeared." The head guard lowered his voice. "How did he enter the palace? Her room is locked every night. Cameras show no one went inside." The king turned toward the security chief, eyes burning. "Then someone erased the footage. Someone inside this palace is lying." Outside the palace gates, thousands of protesters were already gathering, shouting and throwing stones. The news had leaked. "Who is the father?" They screamed like wolves. Reporters pushed cameras into the faces of the guards, demanding answers. The king tried to speak, but Eleonora suddenly looked up, her eyes empty, her voice cold like winter. "He's already here," she said. "And he's not human." Everyone stared at her, horrified, but before anyone could ask another question, every light in the palace went out at the same time. Total darkness. A deep sound like metal scraping across stone filled the halls. Someone whispered, "Oh God, what was that?" And then a voice echoed through the darkness, "Not human, not real. The child is mine." Eleonora collapsed to the floor, and the doctor screamed for help. No one realized it yet, but the real nightmare had just begun. The power came back after 13 long seconds, and when the lights flickered on, everyone froze. The doctor who'd been standing beside Eleonora lay on the floor with his neck twisted completely around, eyes open and staring at nothing. The nurses backed away screaming. The king shouted for security, but the radios only returned static, like something was blocking all signals inside the palace. Eleonora didn't move. She sat on the cold marble floor, staring at her trembling hands. "He said he would come back," she whispered, almost too quiet to hear. "He said the child must survive. If I resist, people die." The queen knelt next to her, voice shaking. "Sweetheart, tell us who he is. Tell us what he looks like." Eleonora's breath turned into fog in the warm room, like she was breathing winter. No face, only eyes. Red like fire. "He touched my mind, not my body. I woke up and I was not alone anymore." The head guard stepped forward, trying to take control. "Your Majesty, we must evacuate immediately. This is not a normal threat. Something supernatural is inside the palace." But the king wasn't listening. His pride was louder than reason. "I will not run from my own home. Whoever is behind this, human or demon, I will crush them." The queen grabbed his arm. "Listen to yourself. Our daughter might die." But he pulled away. "No. Someone is playing with us. Someone wants the throne. And I will find them." Before another word could be spoken, something heavy slammed against the tall glass window behind them, so hard it cracked from end to end. Everyone turned. On the other side, dozens of dead black birds lay piled against the glass, blood smeared across their feathers, like something had thrown them there with impossible force. The queen covered her mouth, horrified. "What is happening to us?" And then the palace alarm system erupted, every siren screaming at once, metal doors dropping, locking every exit. The emergency voice spoke through the speakers, but the voice wasn't the usual robotic system. It was a man's voice. Deep. Cold. "You cannot run. She belongs to me." Eleonora lifted her head slowly, tears streaming down her face. "He says he will reveal himself tonight," she whispered. "And when he does, everything will change." The guards rushed to the control room to override the lockdown, but when they reached it, every screen was already playing the same footage, security cameras showing empty hallways, doors shaking like something invisible was slamming them from the inside. The head of security, Commander Rowan, cursed under his breath. "This isn't possible. The system is offline. Something else is controlling it." The king stared at the screens, refusing to show fear. "Trace the signal. I want to know who hacked my palace." But Rowan didn't answer. He was frozen, eyes locked on one camera angle. "Sir, look." The camera showed Eleonora's bedroom, but the furniture was floating in the air, turning slowly like it was weightless. On the ceiling, written in thick black liquid, were the words, "The heir must be born." The queen's hand shook as she grabbed the king's arm. "This is not a hacker. This is something ancient. We need a priest. Now." But the king snapped, voice cracking with rage. "No priests. No superstitions. Someone is controlling her. Someone wants this kingdom in chaos, and I won't hand them victory." Suddenly Eleonora gasped, clutching her stomach, crying out in agony as if something inside her twisted like broken metal. The queen fell to her knees beside her. "Help her. Do something." The doctor's assistant grabbed medical tools, but the lights flickered again, and the floor trembled like an earthquake. Then Eleonora's voice changed, deeper, layered with something inhuman. "You cannot stop him. The bloodline was promised. The throne belongs to us now." Everyone stepped back. Her eyes turned pitch black, staring at her father with a hatred that felt ancient. "You made the deal. You opened the door. And I came to collect what is mine." The king stumbled, his face draining of all color. "What are you talking about? I made no deal." Eleonora, or whatever was speaking through her, smiled slowly, and it was the most terrifying smile anyone had ever seen. "Liar. You know the truth. The curse did not die with your father." The queen stared at the king, voice breaking. "What is she saying? What curse?" The king didn't answer. He just closed his eyes for a long second, like he had been running from something for years and it had finally caught him. And then the alarms stopped. All the lights shut off again. Silence swallowed the palace. In the darkness, a deep metallic scraping started moving closer, step by step, like armored feet dragging across stone. Eleonora whispered through the darkness, voice trembling and terrified now, not possessed. "He's here." The sound grew louder, echoing through the palace halls like something huge was walking slowly with no need to rush. Each step made the floor vibrate, like the weight behind it was not meant for the world of the living. Everyone stood frozen, breath held, afraid to move or speak. Even the guards who had faced war looked like children lost in the dark. A thin line of fog began to slide under the locked steel doors, cold, heavy, and alive. It wrapped around Eleonora's legs like hands trying to pull her away. The queen tried to drag her back, but the fog burned her skin, leaving black marks, and she screamed in pain. The king grabbed Eleonora by the shoulders, refusing to let go, but she looked at him with wide terrified eyes. "Father, don't touch me. He hates you." The steel doors suddenly bent inward, metal groaning and twisting like soft clay. Something on the other side was pushing, slowly, patiently. The guards raised their weapons, but their hands shook so hard the guns rattled. Commander Rowan whispered, "Whatever that is, bullets won't stop it." The queen cried out, "Why is this happening to us? What did you do?" Her voice cracked, raw and desperate. The king didn't answer. His silence was louder than a confession. The door exploded inward with a deafening blast, sending guards flying across the marble floor like broken dolls. A wind colder than death rushed in, ripping banners from the walls. The lights flickered violently, then steadied just enough for them to see a tall figure standing in the doorway, covered in black armor, smoke trailing from its body like it had walked straight out of hell. It was nearly 9 feet tall, helmet smooth and faceless, but where eyes should be, 2 burning red flames stared straight at the king. No one could breathe. No one could speak. The voice came without the helmet moving, heavy and ancient, echoing through every wall in the palace. I have come for what is mine. Eleonora sobbed, shaking uncontrollably, reaching for her mother but unable to move. The queen tried to step forward, but the king blocked her, forcing strength he no longer felt. This is my kingdom, he shouted, though his voice cracked. You have no claim here. The armored figure took 1 step forward, and the marble beneath its feet cracked like ice. You swore a blood oath, the voice roared. You begged for power. You asked for a throne, and you promised me an heir. The queen's face went pale, tears spilling down her cheeks. Alistair, tell me he's lying. Tell me you never. The king finally broke. His voice shook like a man confessing his own death sentence. I did it to save this kingdom. I never thought he would come back. I never thought the price would be her. Eleonora screamed, her voice filled with pain and rage mixed together. You sold me before I was even born. The demon stepped closer, raising one hand. The air around them folded, reality itself bending. The time has come. The heir will be born tonight. And with one gesture, the windows shattered and a storm of black wings filled the room, thousands of crows swirling like a living tornado. Everyone dropped to the floor, covering their faces from the violent storm of feathers and broken glass. When the last crow hit the ground, dead, silence returned. Eleonora was gone. The queen's scream tore through the hall, raw and animal, the sound of a mother losing everything in one heartbeat. She clawed at the empty air where Eleonora had stood only seconds before, falling to her knees, shaking uncontrollably. Where did he take her? Bring her back. Bring my daughter back. The king staggered forward, staring into the cloud of dust and broken glass, breathing like a drowning man. There must be a way to track them. Rowan, scan every exit, every tunnel, every. Rowan cut him off, voice barely holding together. Sir, she didn't go through any exit. The cameras show nothing. She vanished into thin air. The king's face darkened, jaw trembling. Then find something. Anything. I don't care what it takes. But the head guard wasn't looking at him anymore. His eyes were fixed on the shattered window, where a thin trail of dark blood led outward, dripping slowly like something had been dragged across the stone balcony. He walked toward it carefully, his boots crushing broken glass, and leaned forward. His entire body froze. Below them, spread across the palace courtyard, the crows had arranged themselves into a message, their bodies forming clear letters written in death. Midnight. The queen grabbed Rowan's arm, voice barely a whisper. He means to deliver the child tonight. We have less than 3 hours. The king's hands curled into fists so tight blood seeped from his palm. Then we're not waiting. Prepare the fleet. We search every inch of this kingdom. But Rowan stared at him with something between sorrow and disgust. Search where, sir? Against what? You made a deal with a demon. You brought this here. He didn't shout the words, but they hit harder than any scream. The king stepped toward him, anger flashing. Watch your tone, commander. No, Rowan said calmly, taking a breath like a man who had already made his choice. You watch yours. People are dying. Your daughter is being tortured. And all this time, you knew something like this could happen. The queen's voice cut through them like a knife. Now is not the time to fight. We need help. Real help. The king hesitated. He knew what she meant, and he hated it. Absolutely not. We will not involve him. The queen stepped closer, her face inches from his. You want to save her or you want to protect your pride? A long silence fell. Then the king exhaled slowly, broken. Fine. Call him. Rowan looked confused. Call who? The queen wiped her tears, steadying her shaking voice. The only person who ever defeated the darkness. The one we swore never to contact again. The king pulled out a small black phone from his coat, a phone no one else knew existed. He dialed a single number. It rang once. A voice answered, cold and calm. I warned you this day would come. The king swallowed hard. We need you. Eleonora has been taken. There was a moment of silence, then. I'm already on my way. Thunder cracked overhead like the sky itself was splitting. Somewhere in the distance, a loud church bell began tolling on its own. The queen whispered, trembling, God help us. But Rowan shook his head slowly. God has nothing to do with what's coming. The storm outside grew worse, lightning ripping the sky open like something trying to claw its way out. The palace trembled with every thunderstrike. The guards rushed to secure the doors, but everyone felt the same thing, they were preparing for a war they could not possibly win. Minutes passed in heavy silence until the sound of helicopter blades cut through the storm. The windows shook from the force, and a spotlight swept across the courtyard. The king, queen, and Rowan hurried outside, rain hitting their faces like needles. A black military helicopter landed hard on the wet stone, wind whipping violently. The side door slid open, and a tall man stepped out, wearing a long dark coat, the scars across his face glowing faintly under the lightning. His eyes were cold, sharp, and filled with something ancient, knowledge he wished he never carried. Rowan stared at him, stunned. General Marcus Hale. I thought you were dead. The man didn't smile. Sometimes death is easier than living with the truth. He stepped forward, rain soaking through his coat. Where was she taken? The queen's voice cracked. He vanished with her. Right in front of us. She screamed, and then she was gone. Marcus looked at the broken window, then the courtyard below where the word midnight still lay written in dead crows. His jaw clenched. He wants an audience. He wants the world to see the birth. The king stepped closer, desperate. Can you stop him? Tell me you have a plan. Marcus looked him dead in the eyes, and the hatred there was unmistakable. This happened because you made the pact. Don't ask me to clean your blood. The king flinched like he'd been punched. I did what I had to do. The kingdom was falling apart. I saved our people. You sold your daughter. Marcus roared, the sound echoing across the courtyard. You promised her soul for a throne. The queen covered her mouth, crying deeply. How long have you known? Marcus's voice softened, but the pain in it was unbearable. Since before she was born. I tried to stop the ritual. I warned him. But he thought he could trick the demon, thought he was smarter. The king's voice broke. I thought the deal ended with me. I thought the curse died when my father burned the contract. Marcus shook his head. A demon's contract doesn't burn. It waits. It collects. Rowan stepped forward, trying to think clearly. So where would he take her? There must be a pattern. A place. Marcus looked up at the sky, rain running down his face like tears. Midnight. Blood moon still rising. He'll take her to the oldest place of power, the place where your grandfathers opened the gate. The queen whispered shakily, the old cathedral. No, Marcus said. Below it. They all fell silent. Everyone knew what he meant, but no one dared say the name. Finally the king whispered, defeated. The crypt of the Forsaken. Marcus nodded once. And if we don't reach her by midnight, the child will not be a child. Thunder cracked louder than ever, shaking windows blocks away. Marcus turned toward the helicopter. Gear up. We leave now. The queen caught his arm, voice shaking with terror. "Tell me the truth, can we save her?" Marcus looked into her eyes. "I don't know. But if we fail, the whole world burns." And as they ran toward the helicopter, Rowan glanced back at the palace, and his heart stopped. On the highest tower, barely visible through the rain, Eleonora was standing motionless, staring down at them, her eyes glowing bright red. Eleonora stood on the edge of the tower like a statue carved from darkness, rain pouring over her hair, her long white gown soaked and clinging to her trembling body. The wind whipped violently, but she didn't move, not even an inch. Her eyes glowed like burning coals, staring down at them without blinking. It felt like she was looking straight into their souls. The queen gasped, hands pressed to her mouth. "Oh God, she's freezing. She'll fall." Marcus stepped forward slowly, raising his voice carefully, like trying not to wake a monster. "Eleonora, listen to me. You are stronger than him. Fight him. Come down from there." For a moment, she didn't react. Then her lips parted, and her voice floated down through the storm, soft and broken. "I can't feel my body, he's inside me. I'm not alone." Lightning flashed behind her, outlining her thin figure against the sky. The queen screamed for help, trying to run toward the tower, but the king grabbed her before she could move. "Stop. If we rush, we provoke him. He wants panic." The queen slapped him with a trembling hand, tears streaming. "She's our daughter. Do something." But the king just stared upward, helpless, guilt crushing him like stone. Marcus looked at Rowan. "We need to get up there. Now." Rowan nodded and signaled the guards, and they sprinted toward the stairwell entrance connected to the tower. The king and queen followed, Marcus close behind, boots pounding against the slick stone as they climbed step after step. Halfway up, the lights exploded, plunging everything into darkness. A low growl crawled through the stairwell walls, like something alive was moving inside the stone. The queen grabbed Marcus's arm in panic. "He's here, he's already here." Suddenly a voice echoed around them, deep, layered, vibrating through their bones. "You can walk no further." The stairway shook violently, stones beginning to crack and crumble. Marcus shoved the king and queen back, shielding them with his own body as debris rained down. Rowan shouted, "Move! Move before this whole place collapses." They pushed forward through the dust and falling stone, forcing their way toward the tower door, but when they reached it, the door slammed shut in their faces, metal twisting like it was being crushed by invisible hands. And then, from just beyond the sealed door, they heard Eleonora scream, but it was unlike any human sound. It was pain mixed with rage and something ancient, something older than language itself. The queen collapsed to her knees. "Please, please stop hurting her, take me instead." The voice responded instantly, cold and merciless. "The mother carries no power. The heir is all that matters." Marcus slammed his fist against the door, fighting to keep his control. "What do you want? Say it." For a few seconds, there was only the storm. Then the demon spoke again, slower now, almost amused. "At midnight, the world meets its new king." The clock tower above them began to toll, one deep echo rolling through the night. "Dong!" Marcus whispered, eyes wide with horror. "It's starting." The king leaned against the wall, his voice barely breath. "We're out of time." Lightning struck the tower, shaking everything violently. And through the crack of thunder, they heard Eleonora speak again, but this time, her voice was her own, desperate, pleading. "Mom! Dad, help me, please." Her words cut through them like a blade. The queen screamed, pounding her fists against the sealed iron door until her hands bled. Rowan looked at Marcus, voice shaking. "What do we do now?" Marcus stared upward, eyes burning. "We break the rules. We call the one thing even demons fear." The king turned to him, shocked. "You can't mean." Yes, Marcus said. We summon the seraphim. And far above them, on the tower edge, Eleonora slowly turned her head, something moving beneath her skin like claws pressing from the inside. The palace clock struck midnight when a thunderous bang echoed across the main courtyard. Windows trembled. Guards sprinted toward the old stone stables, where flames suddenly erupted, painting the sky in violent orange. Smoke spiraled upward, and terrified horses screamed in agony. Princess Leonor watched from her balcony, frozen in horror. Her hands shook as she clutched the railing. "What is happening?" she gasped. Down below, King Felipe pushed past guards, his face pale with terror rather than leadership. Soldiers dragged out a young man covered in soot and blood, unconscious but alive. His shirt was torn, and a knife glinted in his hand. The crowd murmured like a sea ready to drown anything in its path. "That's him," a guard shouted. "The father of the princess's baby." The words exploded like a bomb. Screams, gasps, curses, chaos erupted everywhere. Cameras zoomed in like vultures circling dead prey. Royal advisors tried to block them, but it was too late, the world had already seen. Leonor's chest tightened, she recognized him instantly. Gabriel. The stable boy who had always smiled kindly, who had once helped her hide from suffocating royal rules, who had sworn he would protect her even from herself. She remembered his trembling voice months earlier under the moonlight. "If they find out, they will kill me." Now his face was unrecognizable, bloody, ash-covered, one eye swollen shut. Two guards slammed him against the stone wall as he coughed violently. "Confess," they demanded. "Tell the world what you did." Gabriel lifted his head slowly. Blood dripped from his mouth, but his voice was strangely calm. "I loved her," he said. "I didn't hurt her. I didn't force anything. We loved each other." The king's expression twisted into something dark and deadly. "You ruined my daughter. You ruined the future of Spain." Another guard whispered urgently into the king's ear. Felipe's eyes widened with fear, real, trembling fear. Something far more dangerous than a teen pregnancy was unfolding. Leonor's breath faltered. She whispered through shaking lips. "They're lying, something is wrong." Then, the wind shifted, and she smelled smoke again, not from fire but from burning documents. Proof was being destroyed. A secret so monstrous that someone wanted it buried forever. And suddenly Leonor understood. Gabriel might not be the real father at all. The truth was far darker. She gasped violently as her knees buckled. "No, no, please tell me it isn't him." Below her, Gabriel screamed as electric batons struck him. His voice cracked in agony. "Leonor, run." The world froze. And just before she blacked out, she heard her mother's whisper behind her, the queen's voice trembling with guilt and terror. "We should have killed the real father instead." Leonor's vision went black. To be continued. The first rays of dawn barely broke through the storm clouds when Leonor woke, shivering on the cold marble floor of the palace's abandoned wing. Her hair was soaked, and the edges of her gown were singed. She tried to sit, but a sharp pain in her abdomen made her scream. Something inside her had changed overnight. She could feel it, alive, moving, twisting like a creature that wasn't human. The queen hovered over her, eyes swollen and red from sleepless crying. "You're awake, thank God, my baby," she whispered, but her voice carried fear, not relief. "But we have no time. He's coming back." Leonor's gaze turned toward the palace's shattered windows. The crows had returned. Hundreds of them circled above like black clouds, their shrill cries piercing the quiet morning air. One bird landed on the balcony railing, staring at her with unblinking eyes, almost as if it carried a message. Marcus appeared suddenly from the shadows, soaked and grim, carrying a large, ancient-looking satchel. "We've located him," he said quietly. "The one behind this entire nightmare. He's waiting beneath the crypt." Leonora froze. The crypt, the curse, is it, really him? Marcus nodded. The father isn't Gabriel. Gabriel was a pawn, a distraction. The true father, he's something older than this kingdom itself. He made a deal centuries ago, and now he's coming to claim his heir. The queen whispered, voice trembling, you mean, the child inside her? Yes, Marcus said firmly. And if he succeeds, the child won't be human. The kingdom, maybe the world, will pay the price. Suddenly, a shadow passed over the balcony. Leonora turned, heart pounding. Standing in the doorway was a figure she didn't recognize. Tall, cloaked in black, eyes hidden but radiating a terrible authority. Even Marcus stepped back. You feel it, don't you? The figure said, voice low and smooth. The child inside you, is not meant for your world. Leonora's stomach tightened. Pain shot through her in sharp bursts. Who are you? She cried, terrified. I am the one who waits, the one who was promised an heir. Your father made a choice. Now you must either surrender, or everything you love will burn. The queen grabbed Leonora's hand, pleading. Fight him. Fight him, Leonora. You are stronger than him. But Leonora's mind was spinning. Something dark stirred inside her, familiar and terrifying at the same time. And in that moment, she understood, the final test was about to begin, and no one, not even Marcus or her parents, could protect her completely. The crows screamed in the sky, black wings slicing the dawn, as the shadow moved closer. Every instinct screamed to run, but the crypt waited below, and the heir's destiny could not be avoided. Leonora whispered to herself, voice trembling but resolute. I will not let him take me, or the child, not without a fight. The stone steps leading down to the crypt were slick with water and shadows, the smell of damp earth thick and choking. Leonora, Marcus, and the queen descended slowly, every step echoing like a warning. The deeper they went, the colder it became, as if the air itself carried the presence of something ancient and hungry. Stay close, Marcus whispered, his hand gripping the hilt of a steel dagger etched with strange runes. He knows we're coming. He's been waiting for this moment, and he's prepared. The queen shivered, gripping Leonora's arm. I can't breathe down here, she murmured, panic rising. Suddenly, a low, guttural laugh echoed from the darkness ahead, bouncing off stone walls. Leonora froze, her stomach twisting painfully. The voice was familiar, but not human, layered with echoes of generations of evil. You came, it said. Good. I was growing bored. Leonora gasped. Show yourself, she demanded, though her voice shook. From the shadows, a figure emerged, tall, draped in black armor that seemed to ripple like liquid shadow. Red light glowed from beneath its helm, illuminating a face that was only partially human. Its eyes burned like embers, and every movement it made seemed to bend the air around it. Marcus stepped forward, raising his dagger. Step back, all of you. This isn't a man. It's a curse made flesh. The figure's gaze locked on Leonora. I have waited centuries for this heir, it said, voice vibrating with power. The blood of kings flows in you. The child inside you is mine. Leonora's hands clenched, pain shooting through her. I will never let you have him, or her. The figure laughed, a sound that made the walls themselves shudder. You think you have a choice? Your father already promised me. Every action you take only brings you closer to surrender. The queen cried, you can't take her. She's just a child. The figure tilted its head. She is the key. And I am patient. Lightning from unseen cracks in the ceiling illuminated the crypt. Shadows moved unnaturally, creeping along the walls like living fingers. Then, without warning, the figure lunged forward, faster than human thought, aiming straight for Leonora. Marcus shouted, throwing himself between them, dagger slicing through the air. Sparks flew as steel met something harder than iron. The queen grabbed Eleonora, pulling her back into a shadowed alcove just as the figure slammed into the floor where she had been standing moments before. Eleonora's vision swam. A voice, hers yet not hers, whispered in her head. You cannot fight me. I am inside you already. Her knees buckled. Pain and fear twisted together into raw, blinding clarity. For the first time, she realized, the fight was not just outside. It was inside her as well. Marcus stood, bloodied but unbowed. You need to fight him with your mind, Eleonora. The child, protect it. Otherwise, nothing will stop him. And in that moment, the red glow from the figure's eyes deepened, spreading across the crypt, filling every corner. Shadows rose from the ground, writhing like smoke given life. The final battle was beginning. The shadows swirled faster, twisting around Eleonora like a living cage. The armored figure loomed above her, voice booming, reverberating off the stone, the air is mine. There is no escape. Pain shot through her chest, not from her body, but from somewhere deep inside, her mind, her very soul. She doubled over, gasping, when a whisper cut through the darkness, soft but clear. You are stronger than he thinks, stronger than you know. Marcus shouted, focus, Eleonora. Use your mind. Don't let him touch the child. He swung his dagger again, slicing through the writhing shadows, sparks flying as if metal fought fire. Eleonora's hands trembled, but she forced herself to look at the figure. Red eyes stared back, unyielding, confident. And then, a strange clarity came over her, a connection, almost electric, between her and the child inside. She could feel it writhing, resisting the darkness. You will not take us, she whispered aloud, voice shaking but growing stronger. The figure roared, a sound that made the crypt walls crack. Shadows slammed into Eleonora, twisting around her, trying to break her will. Pain exploded across her body, yet something inside pushed back. Her scream merged with the figure's roar, creating a resonance that shook the stones. Marcus and the queen shielded themselves, barely holding on as the floor cracked beneath the force of their psychic battle. The figure advanced, one clawed hand reaching toward Eleonora's stomach. I am eternal. I am inevitable, it bellowed. Eleonora's voice grew louder, almost chanting in rhythm with the movement of the shadows. Light began to glow faintly around her, pulsing from within her body and the child. The shadows recoiled. The red in the figure's eyes flickered. You underestimated me. Eleonora yelled. I am not yours. Suddenly, the figure screamed in rage and vanished in a burst of black smoke. The shadows collapsed into themselves, leaving a deep silence. Eleonora fell to her knees, trembling, clutching her stomach, tears streaming down her face. She was alive. The child inside was alive. Marcus approached cautiously, still holding his dagger. Is it over? He asked, voice tense. Eleonora nodded weakly, though exhaustion and fear made her almost collapse. For now, but he will return. He always does. I felt him retreat, but not gone forever. The queen held her close, sobbing. You saved us. You saved yourself. Outside, the first light of morning broke through the storm clouds, illuminating the crypt's shattered stones. A few black crows circled overhead, distant now, but their cries echoed like a warning. Eleonora looked up at them, whispering softly, almost to herself. I will be ready next time. But deep below the ruins of the crypt, in the shadows where no light could reach, a faint, red glow began to pulse again, silent, patient, eternal. The morning sun barely warmed the palace, but the air felt heavier than ever. Eleonora sat on a stone bench in the ruined courtyard, wrapped in a cloak, her hands trembling slightly as she pressed them against her stomach. The child inside was quiet now, but she could still feel the subtle movements, the tiny proof that they had survived. The queen knelt beside her, brushing wet hair from Eleonora's face. It's over, she whispered, though her eyes were wide with fear. He's gone, isn't he? Eleonora shook her head slowly. Not gone, just waiting. He's patient. He always comes back. Her voice was soft, but it carried the weight of someone who had faced something that no one could fully understand. Marcus stood a few steps away, surveying the ruined courtyard. His coat was torn, dagger still in hand, and his expression was unreadable. You survived because you refused to give in, he said. Not everyone can do that. But remember, every time he comes back, it will be worse. You need to be ready, stronger than before. The king approached, shoulders heavy with guilt and grief. He knelt beside Eleonora, voice shaking. I failed you, he said quietly. I brought this darkness into your life. I thought I was protecting the kingdom, but I only made it worse. Eleonora looked at him, her eyes full of both anger and sorrow. I know you didn't understand. But that doesn't matter now. What matters is that we survived. And we will fight him again, together. A sudden movement caught their eyes. From the shadowed ruins of the crypt, the faintest flicker of red appeared, pulsing slowly, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. Eleonora stood abruptly, eyes narrowing. It's not over, she whispered, voice firm. He's still here. Watching. Waiting. And next time. I won't let him touch anyone else. Marcus nodded, a rare look of respect crossing his face. Then we prepare. This kingdom, your family, your child, will never bow to him. The queen took Eleonora's hand. We're with you. Always. Eleonora looked up at the sky, the storm clouds breaking into streaks of sunlight. A shiver ran down her spine, but this time it wasn't fear. It was determination. Deep in the crypt, the red glow pulsed faster, brighter, almost alive. A whisper carried through the ruins, chilling and inevitable. This is not the end. The air will come, and the world will tremble. Eleonora's hand rested over her stomach. She smiled faintly, teeth gritted with resolve. Let him come. We'll be ready. And above the palace, black crows scattered into the sky, but their cries sounded almost like a warning, not a threat. The first battle had been won. The war, however, had only just begun. The end, for now.